And before we get this video started, I'm going to mention that the Challenger Fest dates are set for 2020. I've had a lot of people send me Instagram and Facebook messages. The track got back to me this weekend. The Challenger Fest 2020 date is going to be April 24th through 26th, 2020. That is the last weekend in April. Keep your fingers crossed and say your prayers for excellent weather. We're definitely due, and we should have a fantastic time. We'll have drag racing both days. We're gonna rent the track private just for our event on Friday and Saturday. We have a massive car show on Friday night. The host hotel will be Holiday Inn and Convention Center. I don't have the discount code just yet. Stay tuned on the Facebook page. It's Facebook/ChallengerFest, and you'll find that. I'll be posting updates there as well as the website, www.challengerfest.net, and I hope to see you there. Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the Speedy's Garage YouTube channel. Today, we are finally getting out to the track to test out Go Man Go here with his new modifications. And today's track video is going to be just a little bit different than the normal one that I've done before. I'm going to kind of walk you through what we did. The track was a little bit odd on this particular outing. They had a couple of actual racing events running during the test and tune, and it meant that there were like 170 cars or something like that. It was packed. And so shooting video and trying to adjust cars, I was there also helping out Crew Chief Greg, helped out Chad a little bit with his car. So there was a lot going on. And so I'm going to kind of walk you through the testing that we did. But for now, let's get on the road, start talking about our plan. So we're actually already on our way. You guys have seen me load the car up a dozen times and seen me pack up. Crew Chief Greg's in front of us. He is trailering his car. We've got Go Man Go, and I believe Chad with his white 6-speed Hellcat's going to be there today. He's got some new modifications. He's going to try to go for a pretty good time. We don't normally get to race in really good weather. Maybe, and this is if we're lucky, we get 2 or 3 opportunities per year where we actually get to the track and the DA actually not be 1,000 or more. The last time I was at the track was in August. I'll link to that to the top. It was bloody hot. 95 something like that degrees, 93, 97, somewhere around in there. 70 to 80% humidity. The DA was like 3,600 when I checked it on my little phone app, and it was honestly a miserable day. Ran the car on the 93 octane tune setup that day, and it ran a 1042 at about 133, 134 miles an hour, something like that. We've got good weather today, probably some of the best we'll see. And we've only got a couple of more Saturdays that the track is actually open, so we're going to try to get out there today and make the most of it. There is an event running along with the test and tune, so I'm hoping it's not a circus. Beach Bend normally does a pretty good job of managing the track, so fingers crossed and wish us luck. And I always like to have a plan. If you've watched some of my previous videos where I go to the track, you know, I always have a plan of attack. Today is no different. We're going to get there. I'm going to run just my normal everyday drive it on the street tune. I just finished dialing that in the cold air. If you missed last week's video, go back and check that out because I did find some things out about the winter fuel. It's not quite as good as summertime fuel. Not a huge difference, but enough that I did have to tweak the tune just a hair. So we're going to make a pass or two on that just to make sure everything's where it needs to be. And then we're going to try what I would call a good pump gas tune. We're going to try another tune that's going to take advantage of some of the opportunities that the track's going to give us. For example, traction. On the street, I've got the shift points dialed way back on the 1, 2, and 2, 3 shifts because I expect the tires will be spinning and I don't want it to shoot past the rev limit. On the track, typically you're not going to have that problem, so I've eased those shift points up more to match what they are in 3rd and 4th and 5th in my normal tune that I would drive around on every day. So they're bumped up a little bit, and that should give us a little bit better 60 foot. So that's what we're going to test that. The next thing we're going to do is I have been waiting to get into a race gas tune in this car. Now that we've got the pulley and everything on it. Remember, we got the Red Eye engine in here now, the Red Eye / Demon, whatever you want to call it. We've got the 272 Hellraiser. The other change is we've put the leg maker intake on. We're hoping that will give us some advantage as well. And we're going to put some race gas in the tank. I use Renegade Race Fuel. I called their tech director, and for my setup, he recommended a 3-gallon mix of their RM109 product, which is unleaded. It has a R/M+2 octane rating of 107 according to their website, and then he recommended 3 gallons of that with 2 gallons of their 112 plus, and it has about 112 octane rating, but it is leaded. His recommendation to me was to cut it with that 109 that's unleaded so that the lead content is diminished enough that it wouldn't ever affect the cats or the oxygen sensors, and you would still get that additional benefit of the lead in that race fuel. So we're going to try that out today. I've got 3 race tunes. They get progressively hotter, mainly down lower in the RPM range, and we'll step into those depending on how good the traction is at the track. We're hoping it's good because, like I said, they're running a nostalgia race class today, so hopefully the track prep is good. The last time I was here, they ran race tires like slicks and drag radials in one lane, and they ran street tires in another. So I hope they do that again, so we'll get some good prep. We got good weather, we got a good recipe. Said our prayers that the Lord keeps us safe. We'll all have a good time. So here we go. Morning, sir.
Running it.
Test and tune, yes, sir.
20.
Got some good weather today, I guess.
It is a little bit nice.
Yep. Have a good day. Greg warming his transmission up. It's one of the nice things about driving to the track. You can just let the car cool a minute. Okay, so we're here at Beach Bend. We got Go Man Go ready to go. Chad's just unloaded. Greg is just unloaded. Crew Chief Greg. Let the car cool down for a minute. Get ready to start making some passes. So here's a good comparison. This is a JLT cold air intake. See, it's got the box, it kind of goes around it. I think this actually may seal against the hood, which is pretty cool. Kind of like that. Looks pretty good. Versus the leg maker that's on my car. We're gonna see how that thing does today. So with the car all ready to go, had it prepped, it probably had 30 minutes of cool down time or something like that by the time we swapped the tires over and got in the staging lanes. I decided to make the first pass on the exact same super conservative tune that I drive the car on every day for 93 octane pump gas. All right, here we go. First pass on our normal old street setup. Remember, roll into it. Don't mash it too hard. Roll in, roll in.
Tennessee. Big Dodge van has Challenger Fest here every year.
All right, that felt pretty good. I think I heard the announcer say we ran a 1013.
Broke his motor up here playing with us this summer, so he just went out and got a bigger one.
The announcer just said I broke my motor over the summer. I just went out and got a bigger one. Old Joe. Thank you. All right, I was a hint early on the tree, 0.079, but I red lit. I had a 1.502 60 foot, which isn't bad, and a 10.13 at 133 miles an hour. And that's on our plain old drive it every day setup. So that is not bad. Let us cool down a minute, check the data log, see where we go next. And there it is. So that was the exact same tune I drive on every day, and I've got the time slip here. I had a 1.502 60 foot. 8th mile was a 6.540. The mile per hour was 109.32. And the quarter mile time was a 10.131 at 133.41 miles an hour. And actually, I was really happy with that for the tune that I literally drive on every single day. But when I looked at the data log, I noticed something. The car was shifting at 6250 instead of about 6500. I always put the car in sport mode when I'm at the track. That's the mode that I use to race in, and that's the mode that I have the shift points bumped up a little bit. And so I wasn't sure if maybe the cool air was causing a torque management issue and it was shifting early, or maybe it was just because I was going through the gears so fast it was kind of preemptively shifting. So anyway, that was actually on 6250 shift points as well. We're going to look more into that in a little bit. All right, so I went back and reviewed the data log and I saw that it was shifting a little bit early, and that's expected. On my street tune, I'm afraid if I mat it on the street and the tires start spinning in the first 1, 2, and 2, 3 shifts, I could blow past the shift points and hit the rev limiter, which is no bueno. So I went in, wasn't having that issue on the track. I bumped those shift points out for 1, 2, and 2, 3, about 200 RPM to get them closer to where I would be in sport mode anyway, which is about 6,500. And I lined up to make a second run. All right, here we go. Second run. Made just those small little tweaks to the street tune, but we're going to try to take advantage of the track's traction and stretch out the first and second and third shifts just a tick. See if we can improve on that 10-1. Still on 93 setup, just like I drive it on the street. All I did was adjust a couple of small things. Pretty good. Make sure I save my data log. Gotta have that. Thank you. All right. We ran a 10.05. 10.05, 134 miles an hour. A 152 60 foot. So the track's not quite as good as it has been previously. A lot of street cars here today kind of wearing it out, but that ain't bad. A 10.0 on just like I drive it every day, that ain't bad. Now we're gonna try some race gas. Okay, so there you go. Second pass. It was a 152 60 foot, a 6.484 at 110.22 miles an hour in the 8th, and we ran a 10.050 at 134.18 miles an hour. However, when I took a look at the data log, it did not use my commanded shift points. It was still shifting at 6250 in every gear. I think first and second were down in the 5800 range, so I was giving up a lot of time. It was also feeling like it was shifting a little bit softer, and the only thing I could think in my mind that it had something to do with torque management. So I started looking through the log. I really couldn't find anything, so I decided to call it quits with the 93 octane setups and go to a very mild race gas setup and see what we could do with that. All right, this is it. Probably our last run of the day. It's getting dark. came flying by me. I don't know what he's done to his. Thank you. It's killing me. 10,005. You've got to be kidding me. 10,005. Wow. I think me letting off because I thought it was him hitting the rev limiter. He ran a 943 at 149, so he's done some work to that car. And me just backing off for that split second probably just cost me a 9-second pass. We might try to get one more. We'll see how the staging lanes look. I was laughing it off in the car. Inside, I was actually getting pretty frustrated. When the gentleman next to me came by me, he was in a Hellcat, and I wasn't sure how fast he would be, but when I took off from the light, I had a .096 reaction time to his .389, so I never saw him. I took off, think I'm headed down the track. The run felt really good. I could tell it had a little bit more timing in it from the race fuel I had put in there. I had written a very, what I'm gonna call baby race tune. I mean baby race tune in the car. And then we get almost to the quarter-mile mark, and here he comes by me, hitting the rev limiter. Da-da-da-da-da, you can hear it in the video, and I thought it was me. So I backed off the throttle for a split second, still heard him hitting the rev limiter. I realized it wasn't me. I went back to the floor again, and I ran a 10,005. So it was a 153 60 foot. It was a 6.458 eighth mile at a 111.85 miles an hour. So mile per hour was up a little bit. And then quarter mile, 10,005 at 134.43. I still felt like the car was shifting a little bit softer than I felt like it normally would in sport mode, and I was surprised that the mile per hour was down, but I thought maybe me letting off the throttle and getting back on it again was the result of that. However, when I looked at the data log, still shifting at 6250 in third, fourth, and fifth. It was shifting about 5,800 in first and second. I couldn't figure out what was going on. The sun was going down. They were starting to close the staging lanes. They literally said, if you're going to make one more pass, get in the staging lane. So I just pulled right back in the staging lanes, and I decided to make one more run on the exact same tune. Couldn't make a change. I couldn't even data log it. I had sat in the staging lane so much during the day that my laptop battery actually died. So I learned a lesson there. I've got a laptop, the battery lasts all day. But literally it had to last all day. I've spent a lot of time in the staging lane making these 3 or 4 passes, and the laptop literally would not power up for me to run a data log. So I just had to send it and hope for the best. So let's see how we did. Well, it's dark. I don't even know if you can see me. I actually forgot to turn the camera on. We made one last pass. I found a mistake I had made earlier today, which might have explained a couple of things. We're gonna see how we did. Sorry you didn't get to see the run, it's dark. That was literally, they closed the staging lanes. Thank you. Ha! All right, there it is. There it is. A 993 at 137. So when I get home, I'm going to tell you what I had done wrong today so you can avoid making the same mistake. Man. Okay, and I'm really sorry I did not hit record on the camera. I was frustrated because I had just run a 10.005. The sun was going down. I wasn't even sure if you could see me anyway. Reviewing the video, it actually looks pretty good. So these GoPros do a pretty good job in low light. What I will tell you, as I said, I had a .092 reaction time, which was pretty good. A 1.515 60 foot, which is just so-so. I had a 6.442 at the 8th at 112 miles an hour. Now we're getting somewhere. And the quarter mile time, 9.939 at 137.05 miles an hour. Now, you got to kind of wonder how to pick up 3 mile an hour. Well, I'm kicking myself because I always have a rule that I don't change the car within days of an event or when I'm going to go to the track, because too much can happen. There's too much going on. I want to know the car is consistent. I usually get out and test a little bit on my test track and know I'm good to go. The only thing I had changed was I put in that Archangel battery, and it maintained all my settings. So I kept all my radio stations and all of that stuff. However, when I go to the track, I have custom mode set as my race mode. So I just double tap the SRT button. It automatically puts it in the custom mode. And I normally have the suspension set to street, the transmission set to sport, and the traction either set to street or sport depending on how the track was doing. You get into if you've gone to the track a lot, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You get into a habit and a routine where every time you pull up to the line, you have a process. My process was to pull up, double tap the button, downshift into, I'm already in first, but I downshift so that it goes into manual mode, and then I ease up, do my burnout, and I'm off to the races. I guess when I changed that battery out, it had reset all of those custom settings to street. So all day long, all 3 passes, when I couldn't figure out why the car was shifting at 5800 in 1 and 2 and 6250 everywhere else, it's because the transmission was set to street mode. It wasn't shifting as hard. As soon as I realized that I was literally in the staging lanes making my last pass and I'm pulling up to the line and I hit double tap the button, I just happened to look and see it said street. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So I stopped, set it to sport, off I go. 930 or 993 at 137.05. So that sport mode is worth 3 miles an hour and at least a tenth. Let's see, I went from 10.005 to 9.93, so probably a tenth and at least 3 miles an hour. So I need to get back to the track, pay attention, get this sucker in sport mode, and try my normal street tune again, because if my normal street tune, if it's worth a tenth, that's a 10.0, like I drive it every day, and probably 2 miles an hour, so let's call it 135. And that means on a really, really good tune for the street, that's probably a 9.9 and maybe 136. So we got to get back to the track and do some more testing, but that brings me to my point. Make sure you double check your settings, especially if you're using a custom mode. Make sure everything's set up like you want it to be. It bit me, and I know better. I should have caught that, but there was a lot going on. Not making excuses. I still got my 9-second pass. I'm very happy with that. And now we're just going to start chipping away at it a little bit. So I did learn a couple of things. Even though I made the mistake and didn't get the car set in sport mode for 3 of my 4 runs at the track that day, I probably would have never actually tested regular drive transmission mode, that's the only way I know to describe it, against sport to see what difference there was had I not done it by accident. And so one thing I learned, obviously always double check your settings to make sure it's exactly what you think it is. But number 2, those transmission tune changes are worth a lot. I was really surprised how much it picked up. The biggest thing was the mile per hour. That usually tells the tale, or always tells the tale, I should say, on your power output. So the mile per hour went from 134 to 137. And when you can pick up 3 miles an hour in the quarter mile, that's actually quite a lot. It also picked up a little over a tenth. So we went from, or about a tenth, I guess. It went from 10.005 to a 9.93. And literally that was a back-to-back run. So I made the one pass at 10.005 at 134, pulled back around because I thought surely I can get a 9-second pass out of this thing, and I pulled back around to the staging lanes, and it wasn't exactly a hot lap where I went straight back and took off again, but it was pretty dang close. There were just a couple of cars ahead of me. I got in line, eased my way up, and then went and ran the 993. And so the only thing I changed was when I was pulling into the burnout box, I double-clicked the SRT button to set it in that custom mode, and I just happened to scan through the settings, and I saw that the transmission was set to street. Quickly changed it to sport, and that was the only change, and I picked up 3 miles an hour. So that extra 250 RPM that I have set in sport mode is definitely worth some horsepower and was definitely getting it done. So that's the bigger thing that I learned. I probably would have never tested that, like I said, had I not accidentally left it in street mode all day. The other thing I learned is a race tune can be worth a little bit of pickup at the track, and I learned this on the old car as well, and on my old car it was worth about 3/10. I'm curious how much it'll be worth on Go Man Go here. I literally had just barely started easing into a race tune. So when I say a baby race tune, I mean baby race tune. It was probably more like most people's 285 pulley street tune. Now I run a 272 pulley, and I'm super conservative, so I've dialed things back a little bit, and it's still running fast. So I'm curious to see how much we can chip away as I start to get more comfortable with the fueling and the timing on that race gas. And with that, we're gonna call it a day. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. Be sure to hit subscribe if you haven't already. Be sure to check us out on Instagram. It's at Speedy's_garage, as well as our website, www.speedysgarage.net. And hopefully, I will see you out there. Of course, after a long day of racing, we are back at headquarters, which of course is Smoky Bones. Cheers! 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 Come on, Coca-Cola boy, here. I didn't know you were doing this. We won't say why he had a Coke. He was bad last night.